What's your top wow, that actually worked moment? Pretty much anyone who does programming. / I have no idea what this does. Don't remove or it will break. / this was originally going to be a temp variable, but it's become too important. #the last guy told me to never touch this line. I tried it, and a production server literally burst into flames. Do not touch this line. Went to a dirt track race in the middle of Illinois. My friend went to buy his own tickets. I walked up the front gate and pulled out a Missouri Conservation Heritage card I bought for $2 to renew my turkey hunting tags. I walked up the front gate, drunk mind you, and said in a friendly but stern and confident voice, "Sir, this is my Missouri Conservation Heritage card." Gestured to the gate and followed up with, "I think this should be fine enough." He goes, "Missouri can't, so what?" Even more stern, "Missouri Department of Conservation Heritage card, sir, it says right here." He just goes, "Oh right. Department Missouri, yes right away, go on through." I said thanks and walked in. I think the confidence I showed, as if my card meant anything, let alone in another state, was enough for him to go, "Who cares, I'll just let him in." I saved like $7, but it was a fun story when my buddy asked how I got in before him. The entire grade went on a field trip to a bowling / arcade place to celebrate completing middle school. I was at a claw machine. Not sure exactly what it's called. I'm talking about the machine where you direct a claw and try to grab a toy with it, and I asked my friend to look at the claw from the side to see if it was lined up with the toy I wanted. Just then, a boy from another class walked up and said to me, "You know that those are a scam, right?" I was flustered and hit the button to lower the claw without even waiting for my friend to tell me if it was lined up properly. The claw came back up with 2 toys and dropped them in the collection box. The boy was silent for a moment before saying, "That was actually pretty good," and walking away. I'll never be so cool again in my entire life. My wife and I went to a pretty large size concert venue in our town to see our favorite act, Cassie Musgraves, and decided to go out for drinks prior to the event. The concert was a general admission event with a limited number of pit pass seats, which would allow you to get right up to the stage. My wife wanted to get to the venue as soon as possible, as she wanted to get the best seats we could, since our tickets were simple gap and not in the pit pass area. I was very reluctant to go sit and wait hours for the show to start, and convinced her to stay out to drink until minutes before Cassie got on stage. By the time we made it to the concert venue, it was obvious our seats would be very near the back with limited view of the stage. To say my wife was not happy would be an understatement. At this point I have had enough liquor in me that my confidence was through the roof, and the disappointment from my wife was eating at me. So I decided to walk over to the pit pass to see if there was any way I could talk my way into the section. As I approached the security guard, I noticed all the people being let into the section were wearing white wristbands. I casually walked back to my wife and told her I needed a couple minutes to put my plan into action, and that when I returned I was going to ask her to do something super dumb, but to trust me and act like we belong. I then walked into the restroom and entered a stall. I grabbed enough toilet paper to tie it around my wrist a couple times, hoping it could possibly pass as a wristband in the dark environment. I then grabbed enough extra toilet paper to make one for my wife. I returned and asked her to let me put on her toilet paper wristband. She by this point is laughing hysterically, and that was the extra boost I needed to ensure this plan was going to work. I led the way to the restricted area and approached the security guard and confidently flashed her my wristband, as did my wife. We were both granted access to the pit area and got to the front of the stage just moments before Cassie started her set. Needless to say, my wife and I still retell this story as often as we can. Trying to unclog a toilet without a plunger, poured some fabric softener in there just to see if it would help, and it cleared it right up almost immediately. A little kid I was babysitting put a ton of toilet paper in and clogged the toilet. I couldn't find a plunger, and I figured maybe it would soften the paper up and help clear the block, as I remembered hearing about dish soap helping break down fats in poop and helping to clear clogs. I poured it in, walked away to put the softener back, and walked back into the bathroom to hear a large glug and a totally clear toilet. Told my boss I wouldn't accept a new position they offered me if I didn't get a 25% pay increase. I didn't really think it would work and that they would try to counter my offer, but it did. I remember playing hide and seek with my cousins when we were kids. We were hiding when my youngest cousin at the time, about elementary school age, came into the room. I said, "There's nobody here but us chickens." Like in a cartoon I'd seen. She said, "Okay," and left. I was flying somewhere. After everyone else was boarded, I went up to the gate agent and asked about being upgraded to first class. After a bunch of typing on her computer, she said sure and asked how I would like to pay for it. I said by asking nicely. To my amazement, she gave me a boarding pass for my new first class seat. Got a free watch offer from a decent company I bought from before, but you had to spend over $300. I added 4 of the free watches, which were usually $75, into the cart, which registered as $300. I went to checkout and a green -$300 appears in the bill. Added my shipping address and 2 weeks later they came. I had a situation like that, though not at awesome. Was checking out an item, and there was an add-on item that usually ran over $100. I added it and the price didn't change. So I added it to my actual cart. Price still didn't change. So I checked out, got an immediate email about drop shipping and thanking me for my business, with an invoice that specifically stated $0 for the extra item. A few days later they arrived. Website was promptly fixed. The first time my wife and I went out to eat with our new baby, he was sitting in a baby seat next to the table, and he started crying. I picked up a salt shaker and set it right in front of him, and said, "Watch this." And he looked at the salt and stopped crying. This was a very long time ago. I needed a C+ to graduate, and didn't attend the final. So I went in, and just told him I want a B to graduate, hoping he would let me retake it, or at least negotiate to the point where I could make it a C+. So he tells me, "Sure, have a great summer." Once, in 10th grade, I came into my English class on a test day and greeted my teacher by saying, "I really don't want to take a test today. Can I just have a 100 and a nap?" And for some idiot reason she said yes. I then requested to be her teacher's aide in 12th grade. Had to grade homework and tests a lot, but spent all the downtime playing Mario on my DS. Life was good. I worked in a grocery store as a manager, and there was wasp that was freaking everybody out. One thing led to another, and while my intent was for it to be a joke, I flicked my shoe off my foot and smashed the wasp against the ceiling with my shoe landing flat on the ground in front of me. I just stepped back in and kept going about my day. Everyone was standing in awe of my happy accident. My friend and I were in community college, and Halo 3 just came out. We had papers due for our English class the next morning, which did not get done. When the teacher asked us why they weren't done, I just told her we were up all night playing Sparks in front of the whole class. She laughed, appreciated the honesty, and let us turn it in late, since we didn't lie. Making a calzone from scratch for my cooking class in high school. It was toward the end of the year, and my mind was not on the recipe. We were making the dough and I misread the recipe. I added 2 tea of sugar and 0 oil. I only realized it when I got to the end and had a little bowl of oil left. Next day we take out our doughs, prep and bake the calzones. Our dough came out fantastic, if a little pale. The other groups had dough that was weirdly yellow, and most of them just ate the inside. No one knew of my mistake because it worked. I wish I could say it was intentional, that I added extra sugar to feed the yeast or something clever, but nope, it was inattention that led to a lovely lunch. Back in the 80s my family had no phone, and as a teenager I had to call my friends from a payphone. Long journey calls cost me a fortune. These were the old dial phones. You had to put your money in, and then it allowed you to dial, and I noticed that when I dialed a particular digit there were a corresponding number of blip sounds in the earpiece. I also noted that when I depressed the button which the receiver sat on there was the same tone. So I tried hitting that button the amount of times for each digit of my friend's telephone number. Egg the number 6,654,321. I'd hit the button 6 times, pause and 6 times, pause and 5 times and so on. That allowed me to bypass putting in money and make free calls. Early hacking. After hours of trying to repair a broken digital camera, I went to throw it away. I shrugged and dropped it on the linoleum. Had a horrible crack, the motor turned on making a jackhammer sound before it clicked, and became a smooth hum. The camera worked after that. This is how I used to fix my PS2 in high school. The 2-foot drop technique kept that some bitch running for an extra 2 years. This was a legitimate way to troubleshoot Sparks 360s as well. I polished tile floors with a propane buffer. We were unloading the machine from the van when wind slammed the door shut. The door hit the oil fill tube and shattered it. Needed to find a way to fix it so we could do the jobs for the night. It was 2 in the morning and the only place open was Walmart. Walked around the hardware and automotive department for about 20 minutes trying to find something to fix it. Ended up with a pack of rubber feet for a bar stool, self-taping screws, and had a roll of universal metal strap in my toolbox. Plugged the hole with the rubber foot. It was tapered and fit perfectly. Then ran the metal strap over the foot and screwed it into the frame off the machine. Took a week to get a replacement part and that held the whole time. Just couldn't check the oil for the week. Recently, my fiance and I bought a house. We close on Thursday, actually. We are currently living in an apartment, and we'll be breaking the lease, so we'd be on the hook for 2 months rent. Or we would be, if I didn't get us out free and clear. I have had issues with this apartment complex's management company, and so did a lot of other people apparently, because they have switched management companies 3 times in the 7 months we've been there, and this is a building that is literally brand new this year. So I wrote an email to the new property manager explaining the issues we've had since living there. Noisy neighbors, weird smells, furnace not working and taking way longer than it should have to fix it, being out of wipes in the gym, people not picking up after their dogs, etc. Nothing technically against their side of the lease, but just shitty things overall. It's close to a college campus. We thought it would be far enough away and too costly for students to live there, but we were wrong. So all of our neighbors are college-aged kids, and they don't respect anything. Not their neighbors or their property, and not their own property either. Like a bunch of drunk toddlers running around breaking stuff, and not taking responsibility. Anyway, I told the new property manager that, because he was new, it wouldn't exactly be fair to him if my fiance, and I told the general public about our negative experience there. So that if we could just get out of our lease and end this whole thing amicably, then we wouldn't write any reviews or anything. And it worked. I was expecting to fight them tooth and nail in small claims court, and still probably lose. But I guess the dude figured it would be cheaper to let us out of our lease than the potential loss of income from bad reviews. So yeah, I was able to save us a couple grand, which is great, because I'm sure we'll need it for our new home. You have a message from the amazed man. Like and sub for nothing in return.